Hi, so I'm Simon Davis. I've been with Certara 17, 18 years now, and I provide training and support for Phoenix, the various modules of that, WinUnLin, NLME, IBIBC, as well as our enterprise products like PKS and Integral. So today we're going to be talking about a hosted Phoenix and a little bit about Integral as well. We've done some other presentations of Integral, so I won't go too deep into that if you want to hear more about that. Why, if you on this meeting, you probably know a little bit about Phoenix, but just as a recap, this is a very widely used platform, over 11,000 users, over 2,500 companies. It's being used formally by over 11 regulatory agencies, and many others use it in support of their processing of applications. So we see this very widely used, and we've done a lot of training, particularly with COVID. We extended this online through Certara University as well. So we have trained tens of thousands of people in the last few years. So very widely used, very well supported platform. Some of you will probably know Phoenix WinUnLin or even WinUnLin Classic from its past. It's been around for a long time. So WinUnLin is what you are using for performing NCA, perhaps bioequivalence, individual PK/PD. We also have an IBIBC module. So this is for dissolution, experiment, and building up an in vitro and vivo correlation. So quite a lot of formulation development groups use this. We have the nonlinear mixed effects, so this is for your population PK/PD analysis. We support validation suites, so validation suites are available for both WinUnLin and NLME engines. So these make life a lot quicker and simpler to revalidate installations for themselves. So it helps with your sort of IQ, OQ. We've just recently released the latest version of the PK Submit plugin. This supports both CDISC verification. It's now integrated with Pinnacle 21 software as well as having a bunch of routines to generate table figures and listings, kind of optimize your NCA. So this is kind of like automating your NCA reporting and helping that. There was a webinar, I think last week or was the week before, which is available on YouTube. I recommend having a look for and Googling if you've not seen that before and want to know a little bit more about PK Submit. It originally was primarily focused about CDISC data preparation, but it's got a lot more functionality in it now. So I think it's definitely worth looking at if you're doing a lot of NCA work. And then we come to the Integral repository. So this is a software as a service, central data repository. We host that, Certara hosts that on AWS. Every company's got its own isolated, unique environment to store that, and this assists you in your achieving or making your systems 21 CFR Part 11 compliant. And what is that? Well, it's not just a stick to beat you over the head about compliance, but also to give you more confidence in your analyses and more efficiency. Everyone's working with the same set of the data, everyone can see the same results within the permissions you set up. And it just leaves you a more efficient workload. So that takes us to why are we thinking about hosting Phoenix? Well, we're finding increasingly a lot of groups are looking at Citrix as a platform to run Phoenix. Phoenix was originally designed as a local desktop application, and a lot of groups have struggled with Citrix implementations, not having the right resources of scaling for users. So with a hosted Phoenix, where we've got dedicated machines, virtual machines on AWS, we see better performance than most of our users are having with Citrix. Obviously, you've got a reduction in IT overhead because you're not having to manage those Citrix machines, all the installations and upgrades of Phoenix. That additionally gives you the advantage of change control and validation for your users. You'll be using the latest version of the software Certara will take charge of all of the updating of that, re-verification and reinstallation of the latest version of the software. So you get access to the software, the latest versions, quicker and easier. And another key thing which we offer out of the box is parallelization of work. So the JMS stands for Job Management Scheduler. And what this means is you can package up an analysis and send it off to be analyzed on a second machine or grid or cluster of machines. And that means you can continue working in Phoenix while that job runs in the background. So this is very useful, particularly for large workflows or for larger NLME models. Okay, and I'll try and demonstrate some of that later in the session. Okay, so as I said, it's designed as a desktop analysis software, but we've seen lots of people using Citrix or other sort of PDI environments, and it just hasn't generally worked well where their optimization of the RAM, temporary storage space across users has tended to conflict, and it's not sort of scaled well in those groups. So we've done this a lot, and we've got the expertise to host this with those advantages. So you get an optimal Phoenix experience for all your end users. Okay, and the software will be validated, so it's part of the service that you've got a validated version, get certificate of validation when you take hosted Phoenix. Okay, so I think that repeats what I was talking about previously. And the other thing which I think is useful, as I mentioned, was this job management schedule. This just shows a series of runs that I've done in the past or other users have done, and it means that when a job's being scheduled, you can set them at different priorities. One of your users can be set as a queue administrator, so if they ever need to pause or kill a remote job, they can access this JMS admin tool as well. But the key things are, these are things we've had available in Phoenix for a long time, but many groups haven't had the resources, either in terms of hardware or IT expertise, to set these up. But you can get faster results and more consistent results with these JMS, this remote machine. And off the shelf, you get a basic JMS, and if you've got high performance needs, we can make those larger capacities. This just gives you an example of how different environments might see this. And we just took running the validation suite as an example. And you can see the different machines here. So this is a laptop installation. Might run the validation suite in 4 minutes for Win and Lin, and about 50 minutes for NLME. And typically people see that when they go to a Citrix server, the performance decreases. You can see it's taking almost twice as long for both those runs. Now we do a comparable run in Phoenix. It's coming out at pretty much the same time for Win and Lin. It's actually fast for NLME because it has access to JMS and a more powerful computing through that. So what offerings or which combinations can you have of Phoenix and Integral and other modules? So essentially the answer is any option. We have the first offering, which is called Phoenix Secure. So this would be a package with Phoenix installed on your local desktop, and you have Integral, that's this linked chain icon here, on Amazon, and you'd have an admin license, full user license to get the validation suite package for Phoenix. So that's an offering which has been around for a while. And now with Hosted Phoenix, which we've been offering the last few months, all you need to install on your local machine is Amazon Workspaces, and everything else for your Phoenix analysis would be on the AWS cloud. So you've got the Win and Lin license, you've got the validation of that, we'll be managing for you, and if you need other packages on there, we install R by default. We can look at that as well. And then we've got Phoenix Hosted Compliant, and that brings them both together. You've got both Phoenix license and Integral license, all hosted by Certara And the only thing, again, you need to install and manage is this very thin Amazon Workspaces client on the desktop. What does Integral do? Let me talk about that a little bit. The idea is that Integral is not just about Phoenix analysis. Yeah, it's the idea that you've got a central repository where all your data, analyses, and results are accessible, versioned, and controlled. So it's going to be full Part 11 compliance, regardless of which tool you use. It can be used with the Phoenix client, obviously. That's what a lot of people in this group will be interested in. But if you're using other tools like R, Piranha, NumMem, etc., you can access those. You can use those to access Integral as well, and means that you've got a single point of truth. If your source data changes, the analyses that are dependent on that will be flagged red, and you can rerun and re-execute those easily. Okay. So roughly speaking, this is what a schematic might look like, very basic one. You've got your local machine with AWS client and obviously a web browser. And the web browser is just a quick way to get to Integral if you want. When you want to do some work on hosted Phoenix, you start with your AWS client. You'd on there you would then open up Phoenix, so which is on the web, hence the cloud symbol behind. Do any work you want to do with Integral, and in the background, the license, we're managing that and supplying that. So again, people have had issues with licenses. Those should be resolved because Phoenix Certara's IT is in charge of managing licenses for you. Okay. So I want to drop into a short demo, and I'm going to give an example workflow. Let me take you through the steps we're going to do. I'm going to start on my machine, and in this example, I'm going to use Integral. You don't have to use Integral with Phoenix, but it's got certain advantages. And I'm going to create a study, upload some data to that data subfolder. I'm going to have a quick look at the data in that web client. So again, that's nothing you have to install. You don't normally have that. Then we'll have a look at the Integral. We'll look at the AWS client, start that up, go into Phoenix, have a look at bringing data down from the Integral repository with this Integral browser plugin, load the data, perform a simple analysis, save that all back to Integral, and then at the end, we'll come back to my local PC, the user's PC, and we can review that work done in things like a web client, or we can even download a Phoenix project if you want to. So I'll try and take you through those steps, and let's just show you how some of that data might come in. Oh, I'll try and show the JMS option as well. Okay, so that covers everything. I'm going to go and find, first of all, my web client. So I'm on my local machine. So this is my local machine, and this box, this window here is running log into Factor. Let's do that quickly so you can just see that. So starting up that workspace, and just while that's starting up, I'm going to log in quickly to Integral. Now I've got access to various, a training environment here, this staging environment. So on this top right, you'll see I'm in a Certara training environment, just coming up here. But you might have other environments if you have those. So go back here to mine, and I'm going to create a new study to work on today. So I'll just put that here. So it's folder type study. And there's a lot of things which are set up as a default here to get you running with the system very quickly. If you want to customize it further, you can do that. I'll just put my initials in there, put it into text. So, and these things, other things I fill out are all optional. I can put in compound, and you can see it's sort of got a type to complete option here. So what sort of analysis it is if I want. And these are metadata I can use to search and pull information later. So I've created a new study, you can see it there. And by default, it creates some subfolders to hold things. So I'm going to go to my data, and I'm going to upload some files. And to data, so I'll just take some samples and some doses for this sample study, upload those. I could say, draft data received, sign that in, and every event where I'm changing data in the system requires a login and a reason, as you just thought, and we will be able to review that at any point. So you've got the events that I've done here, and you can see those draft data received as I've changed new versions. If I click on a particular file, I can see the contents of that as well. So that's what I wanted to show you here on the desktop for now. So I'm going to flip to the AWS client. So you see up here, Amazon Workspaces. I'm just going to close this for a moment. And a few other things. So let me just load up an example. Okay. So what I want to show you here is this is an example of a population analysis. So using the phenobarbital data, it's very sparse data. Take a quick look at that. So all of this is happening on my Amazon Workspaces. And if I don't have my license, I'm just going to acquire that quickly. Okay. So now we can just see that. So this data is pretty sparse. So not a lot of data for each individual. So you end up using a population analysis to build up a model. And at some point, you might want to do searching for covariates. If I look at analysis, so I've got this pretty sparse data. So the common thing you want to do is what's called a stepwise search. And what that involves you doing is for your different parameters, saying that you want to look at different potential covariates. So under your run options, you choose your covariate search stepwise and what criteria you want to decide by as to which is the best covariates to include. And what I want to do is, rather than execute directly, I'm going to do remote execution. And remote execution, it sends off this job queue. I can say, look, this is high priority demo, and I can click submit. And what it does then is it packages up the project and sends it off to work locally. And if I go to the window and click View Jobs, I actually see the queue of things through there. So I've got a couple of things which have been done in the past, got some results. This is the one I've submitted here. In the meantime, I can keep working. So I'm going to go to Integral Browser, Connect. So I'm working on a hosted Phoenix remote machine, connecting to the central repository, also out in Amazon. here we are. I can type any fragment of a name to find what I'm interested in. So here's the one we're working on now. And here's my analysis. I'm going to say let's add a new analysis. We call that save point. Collecting all the data. I'm just going to stick with NCA. Submit. And what it's going to do is bring those files down, present to me the Phoenix import wizard, just as you would do normally. With the units row here. It's created this project in the background. If I go to here, I can also find out some libraries. And we could have some templates for analysis, for instance, here. So I've got a workflow template, and I can load that selected item. And I say, well, which project do you want to put into? I want to put it into the NC one. And say, okay. So what I've got now, I'll close that for now, is my phenobarbital project. Notice these have got a page symbol. These others have got this Phoenix symbol. Ones which have got a page symbol are local projects, and you can edit source data, etc. Things that you go to from Integral have got locked worksheets. So if I go here, I cannot change the values in the cell. They're protected because they came from Integral. And if I go to here, I can check the state, and it'll say it's up to date back in Integral. I've got that workflow I loaded up, so I'll just bring that up. Drop in my samples, drop in doses, okay. Click execute, and I'll workflow actually. So I've done a very quick NCA. It's got a couple of plots supporting it, table of final parameters, and just any normal workflow template you can use. And I can see what's gone on here. Okay. Notice actually one of these samples, most of the data looks pretty nice, but here there's something odd going on in this profile. I might want to query that. Anyway, that's my draft analysis done. So I'm going to go to Integral, click Save. And what's pretty cool here is anything I want to bring back into it's a whole project's going to be saved anyway, but I can also say bring back these other objects so I can see them in the web browser. They're going to be extracted out from the Phoenix project at the save point. I'm going to get my final parameters automatically extracted. Go hit next, finish. I could lock it if it's a final analysis. I don't need to do that. So, analysis complete. Writing this analysis back from the host machine to the repository. So all the work I've done actually out on a machine that's located, a virtual machine like out in the US. I'm based here in the UK. So you can see performance pretty nice, smooth. Let's see how that NLE job's got on. So if I go to view jobs, okay, it says results in queue. Okay, so back here, back to the phenobarbital project, I can take this window, right click, and choose merge. And that'll bring that project back together. Say yes. And this out of date red text will come back up to date because it's bringing up the results back from the JMS. And that project's now complete. The results have been merged back out of the remote machine. So it's the remote machine, if you like. And I've got my final results. So I know which is the engine I want to use. I can look at either this table and search my lowest IC, or the tool here gives you an idea. So you can see it's found that the most effective and likely covariant is weight on volume. See that use button there. If I made a copy, so I could run that. But we don't have time for that. See, that was the JMS run. I've done the NCA back to integral, say. So I'm going to return back to my desktop, okay? And I'm going to hit refresh. And I'm going to find my study. So here it is. And there's an analysis called NCA. The NCA was authored by myself just a few minutes ago. And I've also got everything extracted from them. Okay, so I've got that box plot I picked out. I'd already asked, I've set the system up by default to pull out my final parameters, so I can review those very easily on this page. Got the core output from NCA, things like that. Now, if a new set of data turned up, so this is kind of an integral feature, maybe I get some reassays. I'm going to upload a file. Click in here, and there we go, some reassays. Click open, upload. So I queried that switch sample. So if you're sure about that, there you go. Reassayed that. So reassays received. And sorry, I did that. I want to do this by mistake here. What I want to do is upload a new revision of that file. So if I click upload new revision, that's what we want to do. Reassets. Open. Upload. And now it's saying, do you want to replace this as a new revision? So rather than bring it in as a new file, I want to actually replace it as a revision. So sign that. Okay. And these are not required, so I can actually delete that. I don't need them. Because it's confusing. Okay, so I just filter that and notice that I've now got a red flag, and that analysis is out of date. It's out of date because I've changed the source data. And if I want to, I can actually see what's happened with that change in the source data by clicking on that, click compare. And you can see it's got version 2 and version 1. They're just 10 minutes apart. And it's highlighted the rows and the changes between those. So you can see it's actually a switch sample. 109 was 22.3 and 22.3 and 109. Okay. If I was to go back to the hosted machine, I'll just close that clarity now. And go back to my browser. Connect. And I reopened that changed analysis. So I'd go in here, analyses, NCA, load the save point, notice it's red. The system, knowing it's red, out of date, will pop up this message saying, hey, it's out of date, you've got new source data. Do I want to get those new source data? I say yes. I could get them later if I wanted to, but I'm going to get it now. Reset in, it's the new file version. That's it loaded, see NCA, you've got the workflows, and I'm just going to re-execute that workflow. And then write it back. The nice thing about this hosted workspace is if I leave it and go to do something else, it kind of will suspend itself, but when you come back, whatever you were doing before persists. So you can come back to it and it's the same environment as you had before. So I'm going to just save that new version. And you see the save options I chose before will persist, so all those things we extract out. Finish. For you, data. And let's start again. And that's it, we're done. So what we've seen there is analysis of a large NLP run with the stepwise covariate search, all built into Phoenix, but running with the job management scheduler, so that I could carry on doing other work while that analysis ran in the background. Normally that would be locked out for you and you wouldn't be able to go and do other stuff. And then we've also seen a typical NZ analysis has been done using a standard template that I've saved and can also version in Integral, and all the results coming back in here. So if I was to go to my study now, here I was seeing the compare of the raw data. I could also, so refresh my analysis. So it's back up to date. I could also say, well, let's have a comparison of those. And I can see what was the impact of that change of data. So I'm now looking at the final results. I can look at it pivoted or unpivoted. Okay. So that really takes me to the end, Sebastian. Covered all of these things as a demonstration. Hopefully you understand a little bit more about what hosted Phoenix does. To an extent, there's not that much to show. It's just Phoenix, but hosted by Certara, working as one, and then its interactivity with Integral. So, do you have any questions, Sebastian?
Yeah, thank you, Simon, for that presentation. Very insightful. We indeed have a few questions. Let me start with this one. Is there a limitation in terms of numbers of users that can work in Phoenix at the same time?
No, there's no limitation, and that's what we were talking about earlier on. That one of the reasons we've had requests from this is people who had Citrix setups have had issues where each user, more users log in, performance is degraded because the available RAM and local workspace hasn't been scaled. Here, every individual has their own dedicated environment. So there's no conflict. You can do whatever work you want. You do share that JMS queue within your organization, but not outside that organization.
Okay. Another question that came through is, can Phoenix Hosted handle SSO?
Yes, it can, yeah. So, Integral handles SSO, single sign-on, for those of you that, so the idea is you log in with your company credentials and it logs you into all the applications. So we have that set up with Integral. With AWS, they're still trialing that out. They're sort of beta testing that at the moment. So when they roll that into production, which they're talking about next quarter, we will roll that out.
Anything you want to add, or? Let me wait. There is another question just came through.
Sure.
Is there a floating license, or every user has to purchase a separate license? Is the next question.
It's still a named user license. So all of Certara software is sold as a named user license. So it's still, you're still accessing it with that named user credentials and username and password. So no, not concurrent usage, named user.
All right, great question. Thank you for that answer. And I think that was it for today. And if there are no more questions, then I think we can wrap it up. If you have any questions after our event, feel free to contact us, to contact your account person in Certara. As I said in the beginning, we will send you the recording of that webinar in the next few days. Feel free to rewatch it, feel free to share it internally. And again, feel free to reach out if you have more questions. And I think with that, we conclude it for today. Again, Simon, thank you very much for that presentation. Have a good day and